An ancient culture representing the majestic lives of kings and emperors still echoes through the city of Lahore. These buildings are a blend of centuries past, from the Mughal dynasty to the Sikh Empire to the era of the British Raj. A mixture of Victorian and Islamic architecture known as Indo-Gothic. But what stand out the most are the powerful remnants of the Mughal Empire.
Since the Mughal era, the first and foremost point that was raised in that time was to project the Mughals as the ultimate rulers of that era.
But this statement, these symbols of power, are falling to decay. The rule of the Mughals began in 1526 and lasted more than 300 years. The emperors claimed direct descent from Genghis Khan and Timur. In the mid-16th century, influences arrived from Central and West Asia under Akbar the Great. The Mughals brought their Muslim culture and a unique architecture. Forts and palaces served as emblems of power and wealth. The Islamic architecture of the Mughals is drawn from secular and religious styles.
Religion throughout history has greatly influenced the Muslim society, so much so that we find its imprint on art and architecture. And even Lahore, the great seat of learning, could not escape from the impact of religion.
The structures that became symbols of Islamic architecture are the mosque, the tomb, the palace, and the fort. It was the mosques that really brought out the true magnificence of the Mughal Empire, as seen here with the Masjid Wazir Khan. But between the wars and sieges by the Sikhs in the 19th century and the British occupation, the monumental heritage of Lahore started to crumble.
Danial, this is an amazing wall and a unique piece of architecture where in tile mosaic where you find different scenes, for example, people playing polo and the different scenes. It's like a miniature painting, series of miniature paintings on the wall. And it started during Jahangir's time and it was during Shah Jahan's time that it got finished. So one of the most precious walls of Mughal architecture, and it's in sheer neglect.
After the fall of the Mughal dynasty in the 19th century, these monuments were hit by apathy and remained that way for years. In 1927, the government devised a rehabilitation plan, but it took decades before preservation measures were introduced in 1975, including replacing or repairing damaged areas, raising public awareness about protecting the monuments, and punishing anyone who defaces the antiquities. Yet, despite these measures, the buildings are crumbling, and the valuable mosaic paintings are fading. There is some funding from the government, international donors, and philanthropists. But without the right people to do it, restoration efforts are ineffective.
They're not train people around, faulty conservation attempts, over restoration is some of the problems that we face here in Pakistan.
Sajjad Kausar is a professor at a National University of Architecture. He's been working with historical buildings for the last 20 years.
There are certain problems because there's there are structural problems in the columns, and if you move there, they've introduced iron strips around it as a measure. But what it is doing, it's rusted now, and so it is doing a damage because the rust is traveling in the marble.
In Pakistan, the basic deficiency is education and conservation. We do not have any department at all of conservation. The multidisciplinary team which is needed to conserve heritage doesn't exist. So there's a major dilemma.
But it's not even an issue of formal education. There are fewer and fewer skilled artisans who can work with stone, which is required on these sites.
इसके ऊपर अगर आप टिप वगैरह इस्तेमाल करते हैं या वट्टी वगैरह तो ये रेत होती है, ये जल जाती है। इसकी जो लाइफ है वो कम हो जाती है, जहाँ इसे 100 साल चलना है वो 25-30 साल ही रह जाती है, 1/3 रह जाती है ये। इसलिए आर्कियोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट जो है हमारा वो इस चीज़ की इजाज़त नहीं देता इसके ऊपर किसी किस्म की ग्राइंडरें या दूसरे, ये टोटली हैंडमेड काम होता है।
And Ayaz, who has been working on preserving the monuments, says the practice is now on a decline.
कारीगर तो बेशक इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा कम हो गए हैं, बहुत कम हो गए हैं कारीगर। समझ लें आटे में नमक के बराबर हैं। बस यही कोई हर शार पे पर डे पड़ जाता है कारीगर को, जिससे कि उसके रोज़मर्रा रूटीन के अखराजात भी नहीं पूरे हो पाते, इसलिए वो डिस्टर्ब ही रहता है। जब आदमी डिस्टर्ब होगा तो वो शौक से काम नहीं करेगा। जो नई जनरेशन है वो भी फिर तवज्जो नहीं देती।
With the lack of resources and people to do the work, the government's archaeology department can only attend to a few historical monuments and archaeological sites.
We are not collecting enough material knowledge about the decay of buildings and what kind of material is used to stop that decay.
Minimum intervention is always the best. If there's a crack here, you just remove that crack, stitch that crack, and that's about all. You don't have to build a new wall altogether.
And to make matters worse, aspiring architects told me the government has a lot of red tape, so getting funding approved can be a long and difficult process.
While everyone is quick to blame the government for the present condition of our historical site, it can't take all the blame. Experts believe the people are as responsible with their destructive behavior as the government is with its neglect.
Around old monuments, people litter on the ground. Inside the old city, known as the Walled City, where many Mughal structures reside, we found broken windows and doors with brilliant carvings thrown away on the roadside, and evidence of couples carving their names into centuries-old mosaics.
There should be a major restriction on the admission of people and public, and they should be trained before they enter, because these are historical and monuments.
In 2013, nearly $8 million were allocated to the walled city. Kamran Lashari is the project's director. He has a lot of experience with similar projects around Pakistan, and he's painfully aware that things have to be done right.
We pool the resource of the experts of the city, wherever they are, in their private capacity or otherwise, and only then touch a place. And I'm very mindful of this, that sometimes you can kill with your love.
But like many countries in the developing world, the need to grow and modernize is encroaching on historical artifacts.
The walled city is unfortunately turning from walled city to a warehouse. And there's so much of commercial interest involved that people are demolishing their old houses and turning them into plazas and godowns and stores and things like that.
We can generate so much revenue through tourism if we invite tourists. And other than that, I think it's the social responsibility of all the young architects and all the practicing architects that before they start working, they should just voluntarily work towards the preservation of this architecture.
Pakistan possesses a rich cultural heritage represented in the monuments and archaeological sites around the country. Even though some of their value is lost through a lack of conservation, there is a lot to save. For Assignment Asia, I'm Danial Khan in Lahore, Pakistan.